Thank you, Doc, for joining us and enlightening us. Please come back anytime. All right, let's meet our panel. Thank you. Yes. Hey, Mike. That's what I need, a liver. All right, here's our panel. A talk radio icon who now hosts MSNBC's The Ed Show. Ed Schultz has joined us. She is the political director of ABC News, Amy Walter. Hey, Amy. Hello. And you know this guy, the first African-American to serve as chairman of the Republican National Committee. I think we first got to know you when you were the Republican...
county chairman in the 1990s.
Of Maryland,
yeah.
Right. And then the lieutenant governor of Maryland. Yeah. Michael Steele is right over here.
Good to be here.
Now, remember, submit your questions to HBO.com, and maybe we will talk about them later on Overtime. But first, I did not mention, and I meant to in the monologue, it is tax day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The day when we all get to fork over our money so that we can buy prescription drugs for old people and occupy 2 Arab countries and give welfare to defense contractors and farmers. It's a great day. And this is what they're talking about in Washington because they want to reduce this giant debt. Of course, tax is not really on the table for the Republicans. But I want to talk about the 90s because it seems like that was a big issue this week. If we just went back to the tax rates under the Clinton era, and I would add to that, although this is not really on the table, go back to the defense spending of the 90s because I don't think people realize defense spending has gone up 81% just since 2001, not including the wars. So if we just went back to the 90s, couldn't that solve our problem?
Well, I think it is one of the places you want to look. Certainly one of the things that I take away from that point is the dynamics that were at stake at the time. Look at the relationship between the White House, Bill Clinton, and the Congress, Newt Gingrich. And they, after the debacle of health care in '92, they decided to reach that accommodation necessary to move the country forward. You don't have that right now. You have the polarization on both sides pulled by their left and their right flanks that are driving these issues right now. So the discussion about tax rates, the discussion about health care, the discussion about any subject that is going to impact the bottom line of business, of families, and the community is being distorted by a notion that right now people
Michael,
aren't buying right now.
Here's what Newt Gingrich said about going back to the 90s tax rates. He said, I believe that that will in fact kill the current recovery and put us back in a recession. Oh wait, that's what he said in '93 about the Clinton tax rates, which actually led to a giant prosperity. And that's today's edition of Why the Fuck Are We Listening to Newt Gingrich?
Yeah, but I also...
Well, you have to put on top of this, all right, we had this kind of really big recession, right? So we're in the middle of an economic meltdown as it is. Since 9/11, we've obviously invested a great deal in the military, and we still as a country have to decide how much we want to keep doing on that end, whether it's Homeland Security or whether it is in other parts of the world. And on top of it, you don't have either side coming, well, we're starting to see it a little bit now, but you have to be able to take on the issue that both sides now say they're going to talk about, which is entitlements, because we know that it's Medicare, it's Social Security, it's Medicaid. That's the big issue. And until these guys decide that they're really going to talk about it, not just do the dance around it, we're not going to get back to where we were.
Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, President Obama, get it off the table. It's non-negotiable. That's not what the American people want. The American people want more money in the Treasury and a little bit more sanity in how we spend our money. I agree that we need to take a fine-tooth comb and make sure that we're doing the right things with the budget. But the fact of the matter is that what the Republicans want to do is they want to reduce the tax rate, not only corporately but personally, down another 10%. So that means over a 12-year period, heck, they're going to have a 14% turn in their taxes. And you want to know why we got problems with finances in this country? It can't be for the top 2%.
Here's something really interesting. If the Congress just did nothing, the Bush tax cuts would expire and solve 75% of this problem, I believe.
No,
I don't think
that's not right. That's not right.
It's not right?
No, it's not right. It's not right. It's not right.
If we went back to the tax rates, not just for the rich.
But it's more than that, Bill. It's more than going back to the tax rates. It's more than just taxes. It's the level of spending that this country has undertaken over the last 15 to 20 years.
There?
But and a lot of people that did.
No. Show the chart. I knew you were going to say that.
You
Show
know
the chart.
Right?
This is what happens. Look at that. There, now that's in the beginning, that's World War II, of course. The debt was high, but then it went down, down, down. Where does it go up again? Reagan, Bush. Then Clinton takes it down again, up with Bush the second. Okay?
Okay, but look at, you're not talking about the little blue sliver there that says Obama, just in the corner off the screen. Do you know how much he has spent in the last 2 years?
It's spent getting us out of the hole that other asshole dug.
But look, that's fine. Look, you guys, come on, let's be
realistic about it.
Let's be fair about this.
I think this is
Tax
part of the
cuts
problem.
for the rich have not created the jobs that the Republicans said they were going to do.
The reality of it is, that's a great soundbite and it makes everybody applaud. But whatever, but this is the point. This is the fundamental point that no one here wants to acknowledge. And Amy has made it. Everything has to be on the table if you want to grow this economy.
No, everything does not have to be.
Defense, entitlement. You can't do taxes and just entitlements.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Everything has to be.
You can put everything on the table if you want to get to the $0 as quickly as possible, but the American people don't want that.
That's not true. They do.
The American people care about what they care about is going to happen.
What do you think 2010 was about? It was about the spending.
It was about the economy. It was about the economy
that would be
and
spending
the creation
and debt.
of jobs. Here's what the Republicans want to do. They're saying, give us more money to the top 2%, and we're going to go out and create more jobs.
They're not just saying that. They're not just saying that, Ed.
The idea, let's just go back to tax rates.
If you create jobs, if you give the rich more tax cuts,
they're not saying if you give the rich more tax. They're not just the rich, it's everybody. They're looking to raise everybody.
Go ahead. But the rich, it's a big part of it. Okay, I mean, if they just didn't give it to the rich, and why do the rich need more tax rates, tax breaks, and hasn't it proved to be not an effective policy?
But this is where the Democrats also have some problems in terms of the credibility, which is it was Democrats, it was this president that signed at the end of last year extending those tax cuts.
Right.
Right? So now to come to the table and say, all right, that's it, no more, we're not going to do this again, and this is the president came out and said, no more tax.
Which goes to show that this president is genuine about working together. The president caved in on health care, on universal health care and the public option. The president didn't go far enough. Wait a minute now. The president said, okay, we'll extend the Bush tax cuts 2 more years because you're saying that it's going to create jobs, and I'm also going to protect the middle class so they're not going to get butchered again with another tax hike.
Okay.
That's why he did this.
Okay,
he came to your side. And
how
said,
do you know that that's going to be the case in 2 years from now?
Yeah. Well, that's why this...
But I mean, let's talk about the future, which is this Paul Ryan plan. That's the Republican plan.
But it's not
just
the
It
Paul
is still
Ryan
based
plan.
on the idea that tax cuts pay for themselves, which is a disproven economic fallacy, is it not?
But this
is it not?
This is no. I don't agree.
It's
I
not?
think tax cuts. I think tax cuts generate revenue.
But not with that.
They
You cannot do
don't.
tax
But
cuts and not do reform.
Exactly. You cannot just do tax cuts. You cannot just do. Let me finish this point, Ed. You cannot just do tax cuts and continue to spend. That is where we had the problems in the Reagan years.
So why
and the
give
Bush
the
years.
tax cuts to the top 2% again? Why is it that the Ryan budget is saying, hey, let's go to 25%? Heck with 35, let's go to 25 because we'll create more jobs.
The president's own debt commission says let's go to 25%.
Let's go. Well, the debt commission, Alan Simpson, there's a guy you want to listen to. Here's...
Well, what?
Okay.
I mean, the Democrat doesn't count?
Here's what the president wants to do.
That doesn't mean it's right. I agree with you. That's what it says.
The president wants to go back to the Clinton rates. It's a proven formula because we created 22 million jobs when the tax rate was at 39%. So this idea that, well, if we raise the taxes just 3 or 4% on the rich, that we're not going to be able to create jobs.
We weren't in Iraq. We weren't in Afghanistan.
True.
This wasn't after 9/11.
We're getting out of Iraq.
The worst recession
I'm
we've seen since.
glad you brought up Iraq because to me this is the biggest elephant in the room. This week, Secretary Gates was in Iraq, and he said something I sort of predicted this. I said that 50,000 troops that we were going to get down to in Iraq, they never leave because they never left Germany. you know.
right.
They never left Japan, Korea. So Gates this week said, you know what? We'd love to stay if you Iraqis would invite us. I didn't know it was up to the Iraqis.
Well, yeah, apparently it is. And
but see, this is the military-industrial complex. This is the biggest problem we have.
It is.
Is that nobody wants to leave Iraq because, remember that song, War, what is it good for? Business. It's good for business. You stay in Iraq, and then they need catering and Coca-Cola.
Well, the other
But the
Republican lie was
interesting-
Iraqi oil
$8
was going to pay for this. Remember Wolfowitz saying that Iraqi oil was going to pay for this? When are the checks coming? Now they're hoodwinking us into staying in there longer. We shouldn't even be having this conversation about whether they...
Well,
what do you mean, dude, if you're asking us, we're out of here.
Well, first off, let's be clear. Republicans aren't hoodwinking anybody to stay. This is the president's decision through his Secretary of Defense to stay there. The same president who made it very clear as a candidate in the first days of his administration that he was going to get out.
And we are.
And
And he's
now, not
wrong.
only did he keep the Secretary of Defense from the Bush administration, he adopted the Bush policies for a reason. Now we're at a point where the hard decision's got to be made. Do we stay or do we go? Particularly given what's going on or not going on in Afghanistan, and now in Libya, the reality for the administration is coming home to roost in terms of the cost, the expectation at the end, and whether or not they really want us there.
You know, we're talking about cutting. Everybody has to cut, but the Pentagon got a raise again in this budget of $5 billion, where they're cutting home heating oil for the poor and all these other programs. And somehow there's waste, fraud, and abuse all through the government, but the Pentagon, perfect. I would not touch a dime unless you want your kids to be speaking Libyan. We have to keep it exactly as it is, or raise it every year.
Mr. Gates also said that the health care cost is going to be one of the top problems that the Pentagon has coming up in dealing with that. And if we had universal health care, we wouldn't have to worry about that. It would be a heck of a lot on the bottom line.
Other presidents of both parties have been able to cut the defense budget.
Yes, that's right.
After Korea, Ike cut it 28%. After our unwin in Vietnam, Nixon and Ford cut it 37%. Bush the first cut it 14% after the Cold War ended. Somehow, how disappointing that this Democratic president is the one who can't cut it even a little, who keeps raising it.
It's not over yet. It's not over. This is just a few years into it. I mean, the president didn't make the comment. The Secretary of Defense did, and he doesn't have the final say. President Obama wants to get reelected. He told his base that we're getting out of Iraq. Let's hold him to his word and see where it goes. You're taking one comment from the Secretary of Defense and saying, oh, gosh, we're staying in Iraq. I don't believe we are. I believe the president is going to get us out of Iraq. I believe him.
The Secretary of Defense on a matter such as that would not speak without some comfort in knowing that he's got the support of the administration behind those words. He's not going to go out and say to an ally or a government that's in place there that, you know, we're going to get out.
Barack Obama is not going to have us in Iraq any longer than what he talked about unless he goes to the American people about it. We're going to have a say in this. This isn't shoot from the hip. This is a different guy in the White House.
Well, yeah, okay.
Don't you think, I mean, I hear you all the time on your show. You're out in Wisconsin. You're with the people who are really the rank and file of the Democratic Party. Isn't the problem that almost all the Republicans are conservative, but not all the Democrats are liberal? Certainly not liberal in the way I remember liberals from the 60s who are really altruistic and cared about the poor. It seems to be more about their own self-interest. Well, that's partly because the middle class has become the poor.
You know, Bill, I think you've got prairie populists out there who undoubtedly are being attacked. Labor is being attacked. The middle class is being attacked. And we're having a conversation about giving the rich more when it comes to tax cuts. Look at the Ryan budget. It's right there on black and white. The fact is that the middle class in this country is shouldering energy costs higher, education costs higher, health care costs higher, and now the Republicans want to take away their right to collectively bargain in the workplace. They want to take away their voice now.
But wasn't it this candidate and now president who said, with respect to his energy plan and the cost, attendant thereto, that the middle class would necessarily see the cost of their energy skyrocket? Is that part of the public policy debate that we should be having?
The point
right now?
in Wisconsin is not about energy. That is a cost that's going up. The point in
you
Wisconsin,
raised it, so I'm just
that's one of the. I'm talking about kitchen table prices that are going up.
The president that you're talking about,
$4 a gallon gas, and speculators on Wall Street are driving the middle class back home without disposable income.
There's nothing wrong with $5 a gallon gas. It's the same president who said that.
No.
So at what point? So at what point does it all?
Though, talking about the deficit and the debt, which is important, But we haven't talked about $4 gallon gas and jobs and the day-to-day things that people care about. Look, when you look at polls that say, how important is the deficit to you, it never gets above 18, 19%. It's jobs, it's the economy, it's how much gas costs, it's all those other issues.
The last time I checked, the Obama administration, their economic plan has added jobs 13 months in a row. Something must be working.